Right now the front part of the kiln is a little bit cooler, so we're working hard to try to bring up the temperature of the kiln in the very front of the kiln. There's just been some firewood stoked into the firebox. Currently we're at cone 2 in the front, and what we're shooting for is anywhere between cone 10 and cone 12. The rest of the kiln is about cone 9. So it's a pretty wide gap between those temperatures. So in a second you'll see an image of the pyrometric cones. You can see each individual cone. The cone melts. That's how we know what the temperature is. These cones are chemically formulated to melt at a precise temperature. This is the most precise way of measuring the temperature of the inside of the kiln. The other method that we use for measuring the temperature is a digital readout using what's called a pyrometer. A pyrometer actually senses the inside temperature of the kiln, but it's not quite as precise. So it's a good rough guide, but we still rely on the old way of using the pyrometric cones. So right now we're just waiting for the temperature to start falling. The temperature is still going up. When the temperature starts falling, we'll do another stoke. During most of these firings, as you can see, there's a lot of waiting. So the classic hurry up and wait. When we're doing the stoking, of course, we're doing it really fast, rushing around furiously, and then there's a lot of kind of dead time in between to chat and talk about what's going on in the firing and troubleshoot, a lot of troubleshooting. One of the main ways that we split the wood is using a wood splitter. So it's a machine that will split the wood for you, which is great, especially if you have a really knotty wood that's stubborn to split. Also, from a safety perspective, it is much safer. If you've ever seen someone not used to using an axe use one, it's kind of a scary thing to see.
Are you guys ready?
Oh, we just
And
this after this, you want to mix it
soft? So the planks, then the hardwood, and then the softwood.
Okay, plank, hardwood, softwood.
Yeah, this is the hardwood.
Grabbing your wood? You got it all? Okay, I'm opening the door.
No, there's to do with it. Do some a little bit at an angle, don't push straight in, do it there at a speed. Soft now? Yeah, like that, that's good. Yep. Soft, a little more hard, a little more hard.
So we don't need a cram, we'll just do it.
Now what do you want?
Let's do all that softwood.
All the soft.
How much hardwood did you get?
You got about maybe 6 pieces.
Oh, okay, there you go. Okay. Especially at the door here, it seems like.
Okay, I'll do the downstairs.
Cheryl, I think if you got wood, that wood you got, that one. It is. Is this what we piled up a year and a half ago? What? What we piled
Yeah,
up a
that's
year
fine.
and a half
Let's
ago?
just finish with the softwood and
Not
that's it.
smart.
Drop more soft.
March before.
That's good. What's that out for some? Perfect. Well, let's see.
Oh,
10 minutes from a reading, so it better be perfect.
Yes. I forgot my phone. Still watching it on my phone. Crazy. Can't touch Linda. You brought chocolate. Nora. Nora, did you make muffins? Oh yeah, half them.
So you can see after the stoke there's flames that shoot out of the chimney as well as smoke. It shows that the kiln is in reduction, so reduced oxygen atmosphere, which is also good for bringing the heat up. So after an initial temperature drop from the stoking, the temperature of the kiln will start to rise, and until it stops rising and starts falling, that will be the timing for the next. Okay, so this is Cheryl Stapleton. So Cheryl, what is it about wood firing? What with the results of wood firing that you really like?
I like the history that a pot keeps with it for forever. The quiet side and the busy side, you can see which direction the flame came at it and what was not facing the flame, the drips of ash. Yeah, that's what I like, is being able to turn it upside down and around and being able to tell exactly how it was positioned in that flame. Yeah,
Very
history.
nice. History. It's all about the history. And Nora, what is it about wood firing that you like? What keeps you coming back to the firings?
Community. I just like people. When I discovered wood firing, I was like, oh my God, we get to all come together and do this. It's so much fun. And you have to be here for hours and hours and hours. And you just talk and hang out and you chopping wood and throwing it in, and it's so much fun. And also, you know, most artists, like, you work alone in your studio. I mean, potters tend to work more together anyways, but there is a lot of alone time. So if at the end of the whole process, you actually get to come together and put all your pots in there together and see what everybody else made, it's so exciting. And then you have the added excitement of not knowing what's going to happen in there, and you all come together and you feel all that anticipation of, oh, I wonder how it went in the kiln. And it's fun. It's really fun. Yeah.
Very well put.
4 more sleeps.
So we get to open it. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a long wait, that's for sure.
Yeah,
It is a long wait, but you feel like a little kid and your birthday's
Yeah.
coming and you don't
Yeah.
know what you're going to get.
Yeah.
Hopefully it's not, a lump of coal.
Yeah. There will be some lumps of coal, I'm sure.
There will
Yeah,
be.
there's a few lumps of coal.
There
Yeah,
will be.
yeah, but it's
But
fun.
the history of it's so interesting too, because people have been doing this for like hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of years. And isn't it cool? We can do this. It's great. Yeah. So
Drawing.
I like that.
I think humans love staring at flame anyways. I think fire is part of, who we are. From the beginnings of time, it's fire, and yeah, we love fire. We're pyromaniacs.
And gathering around it.
And gathering around the fire, and
Yeah.
hopefully one day having pizza parties again and stuff
Yeah.
like that at the end. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, flames. Okay.
That's one aspect of COVID, of course, that has, put an end to our pizza parties. We also have here at the Shadbolt an amazing wood-fired pizza oven. And so it's been cold for far too long. So we're hoping sometime in the near future to be able to make pizza together and share food. I mean, it's another huge thing that we always do at these firings too, is sharing food, as well as company and fire,
Yeah.
which, as you guys said, goes back to the dawn of time, hey?
And the community. And the community. Yeah, the community and the dawn of time. Yeah.
The other
Gathering.
thing, though, is it's really neat to get to see other people's work and what they've been working on, and then talk to them about, why'd you do it this way, or what glazes are you using, or you get to
What
share
clay-
ideas.
Yeah, what clay did you use? Or
Yeah, so there's a lot of information exchange, and so
Shop talk.
it's shop talk, and because it's right there in front of you, and you're involved for so many hours, there's a lot of time to reflect and think about what you want to do the next time you go into the studio and start the making cycle again. So that's really nice too. So
thank you.
No, thank you very
Thanks,
much.
Marky.
No, thank you. Thank you.
A short history of wood firing at the Shadbolt Center for the Arts. For 20 years, potters at the Shadbolt Center for the Arts have had the great joy and remarkable experience of firing their work in 2 different kilns fueled by wood, the Ombu kiln and the train kiln. This rare opportunity is unique in the Lower Mainland and has attracted students, professionals, and visiting artists from around the province, across the country, and all over the world. How it began. In 2000, the City of Burnaby approved the building of a 2-chambered wood kiln on the grounds of the Arts Centre as a Millennium Project. Shadbolt ceramics teacher and technician, Linda Doherty, in collaboration with Arts Administrator, Sharon Ray, spearheaded the proposal. Master potter and kiln builder, Masakazu Kusakabe, came from Japan to build our first wood kiln. He named it Ombu, which means on my mother's back, since one chamber rested or piggybacked against the other. He specially designed the kiln to be smokeless, as stipulated by city regulations, and to have one chamber in which salt or soda could be introduced for added effects on the pots. As Linda wrote in her article, which appeared in the 2015 edition of the Logbook magazine, with no options for firing with wood in the area, the ceramics department convinced the city that if we built a wood fire kiln, we would attract interest in firing from schools, colleges, and pottery guilds, as well as guest firers from around the world. The craze for wood firing spread like wildfire over the ensuing years as more and more potters in our area became obsessed with this exciting and communal method of firing. Many new pyromaniacs were trained drawing from near and far. High school, college, and university students from all over Vancouver, local pottery guilds, and individual potters from across the province. The Ombu Kiln also raised the international profile of the Arts Centre, attracting world-famous ceramic artists to lead the firing workshops. Guest firers from Australia, Janet Mansfield, Robert Barron, Paul Davis, and Gail Nichols. The United States, Jack Troy, Linda Christensen, Mark Hewitt, and John Neely. And Canadians Gordon Hutchins and Martin Tegseth taught us their own unique methods of firing, sharing tips and fostering connections between our communities of makers around the globe. Wood firing workshops also became a much anticipated activity associated with the Canadian Clay Symposium, an educational celebration of all things ceramic hosted by the Shadbolt every 3 years. Wood firing, an ancient technology and its renaissance. The history of firing ceramics to very high temperatures upward of 1300 degrees Celsius using only wood as fuel traces its origin to 5th century Korea, China, and Japan. The first high-temperature fired kilns were tunnel kilns built into hillsides, called anagama, or cave kilns. The distinctive shape of these kilns and their specific location climbing up a slope work together to allow high temperatures to be reached over the course of several days or multiple weeks of continual stoking of fuel. The process created unique results, not only the vitrification of stoneware and porcelain clays, but the formation of natural ash glazes. Eventually, potters built saggers to protect the glazed surfaces from flying ash, and soon developed a variety of colors, including the much prized celadons, thus opening up a range of aesthetic explorations. These were exciting times in the history of ceramics, when it became possible to make objects that were stronger and could last longer than the commonly used earthenwares. Pots made from earthenware or low-fire clays were similar to our basic flower pots. They seeped water and broke easily. The discovery of how to achieve extremely high temperatures, hot enough to create colorful, glassy, high-gloss surfaces, was a significant technological achievement and, as such, became a secret guarded for centuries by potters, kiln builders, and fire masters in Asia. A renaissance of interest in learning how to build and fire wood kilns took off across North America, beginning slowly in the 1970s. By the mid-1990s, this renewed interest really caught fire. Kilns began to pop up in various communities being a key word, because these large beasts are hungry dragons that can't easily be fired alone. Wood kilns require a group of people working together to fire them. It's a lot of hard work, but it is also a lot of fun. Life of a kiln, challenges and changes. Each firing of the Ombu kiln at the Shadbolt took approximately 35 hours, consumed 2 to 3 cords of wood, and required a team of 10 people, students and staff, to complete. Participants brought pots to glaze with specially formed slips and glazes before spending an afternoon loading them into the kiln, and then spent 6-hour shifts stoking wood into the kiln every 20 minutes or so, until it reached an internal temperature of 1300 degrees Celsius. It took 2 days to cool before unloading the pots. When they are taken from the kiln, the surface of the pots have been decorated by the movement of the flame and melted wood ash to reveal subtle flashing and earthy hues of green to rich browns and tawny orange tones. As Linda describes it, some of the firings were more eventful than others. Upon opening the kiln after the second firing of the Ombu kiln, onlookers discovered the shelves had collapsed in a domino effect. Luckily, most of the pots were saved. A few firings later, the shake shingle roof caught fire at the end of the firing, but thanks to some quick thinking by the fire master, we managed to extinguish it very quickly. Firings were put on hold while an expensive 3-layer heavy metal casing was built around the chimney to protect the wooden roof. In 2009, wear and tear on the kiln prompted a return visit by Masakazu Kusakabe from Japan. He completed repairs and maintenance on the kiln, embellishing the exterior walls with fanciful figures and spinning whorls before leading a firing workshop with student participants. All in all, the Ombu was fired more than 70 times over a period of 13 years. As is the case with every wood kiln, its life is limited. Firings take a toll, flues collapse, bag walls buckle, exterior insulation falls off, and interior floors build up layers of melted glass created by liquefied wood ash. A new kiln was needed to replace the beloved Ombu, which was fired for the last time in March 2014 and demolished soon afterward. The train kiln, our second wood kiln. What's a train kiln? The idea of a train kiln was developed by John Neely, an American potter and professor of ceramics, who came to give a presentation at our 2013 Canadian Clay Symposium. He suggested that a train kiln would be the ideal replacement for the aged Ombu kiln. A train kiln is a contemporary style of wood-burning kiln evolved from the ancient design of an anagama tunnel kiln. The firings achieve similar effects on the pots. However, a train kiln is easier to build and fire and is more environmentally friendly. Less wood is consumed and, like the Ombu, it produces very little smoke from the chimney. The perfect match for our requirements and unique location. Master kiln builder Ted Neal from the United States was invited to design and build our train kiln. A kiln building workshop was held with students and Shadbolt staff, Linda Doherty and Jay McLennan, working alongside Neal and his assistant. The new kiln was fired for the first time in July 2014 with spectacular results. Since then, the train has been fired on average 4 times a year. We hope you enjoy being part of this firing.
So the front of the wear chamber is a little bit cool still. We're trying to bring the temperature up there. So we're actually going to start doing what's called side stoking. So we have a little tiny hole in the side of the kiln where we can access the gap between the shelves, and we can add wood in between the shelves to try and bring up the temperature in that front part of the kiln. So you'll see wood is added, and hopefully that'll bring up the temperature.
or hard and soft. The skinny sticks, the hardwood, and then softwood.
Okay, maybe turn the thingy around. The softwood at the front. And maybe it should be at the back. Oh yeah, you're going to this is good. Tell me when you, are you good, are you okay without tape?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, look at that. Whoa. Oh boy, we really learned that.
Heavy.
That's it.
They're all falling right through. Should I try
were
the
they?
long one? Yeah, try the long one too?
Did they fall through?
Yeah. You want a big one or not?
Sure, let's go for it.
It is?
Go for it.
Okay. Oh, that didn't knock down the far wall.
Those soft ones now? I think you can still get some more hard at the door here.
Yeah, I should have set that one closer to the door.
Still hard, Jay?
Hey, you guys, this is the exciting part. Wow, who's finishing this baby off?
I think a lot of it fell through.
Oh, no.
There's a lot of room.
Did it help?
Want some soft?
More water or no?
Yeah, let's fill it up with the hard.
Once again, I'm interviewing Nora Valiant. So Nora, what are some of your favorite things about the Shadbolt Center?
Well, I've been coming here for so many years. First firing the wood kiln, and then I've been a part of the Canadian Clay Symposium, which happens here every 3 years, and it's fantastic. We have potters who come from all over the province, all over Canada, special presenters, workshops, and it's really great, and it's been really a wonderful experience helping to organize that over the years. And then I've been teaching here for maybe about 5 years. I love it. It's such a great facility. We have nice, spacious classrooms, which as a teacher is just fantastic. And it's really well organized, which I really appreciate because there's a lot going on here, so they have to stay organized. So we've got the wood kiln firings, and that happens about 4 times a year, and then the soda kiln that's here. We've got the gas kiln for our classes, which is great because people are firing at cone 10. But we've also got raku, pit firings, every kind of thing you can imagine. So it's super diverse, and that's really special.
One-stop shopping for all your firing needs.
Yeah, exactly. And the other thing I was going to mention is had to do with, now I forgot what it was. Oh dear.
I'm sure it was quite profound.
I'm sure. Ask me another question.
So, of all of these different firing techniques, what is your favorite firing technique?
Wood! Totally wood. I really love wood firing. So that is really special because it's hard. You know, it's not something that's easily taken on by just a potter by themselves on their own place. You know, it is a communal thing like we were talking about before. And there's a lot of infrastructure involved. And I think that the way everybody can come together and work and share the resources and have an upkeep of the facility and upkeep of all the, not just the kilns, but all the tools that we use and all the glaze materials, and everybody's on top of it. So it helps things run really well and work smoothly, and that's really good.
And it does give it a really big kind of family feel too, I find.
Yes,
Like,
yes,
you know,
that's-
after, you know, having the lockdown and the pandemic and then coming back here to do our first firing, it really felt like kind of seeing old friends and family again.
Absolutely.
And, you know, it's just been really nice to work together once again.
Yes, and I remember what that thing was. What I was going to say is, you know, when I teach my intro classes, they're like an 8-week long session, but that doesn't always work for everybody. You know, everybody has different work schedules and different demands in their everyday life, but you can come here and just take a workshop that just lasts a weekend, or you could come and do an intensive, like a week-long extruding class with Linda Doherty or something like that, and just take that week and go intensive. Or you could just come do a raku firing, midnight raku. That's so fun. So anyway, it's that kind of variety of different offerings. Like, it just works for different people, you know, to make it fit into their schedule. And we have this amazing residency program in August. That's the full month of August. And that's just a really special thing to have. So, yeah.
Speaking of special, I think we might be preparing to do a stoke.
Yeah.
Shall we go burn some wood?
Yeah, absolutely.
Fire time. So we're about to wrap the live stream portion. Right now we're just looking at the cones. The back of the kiln is at cone 11, which is very hot. It's close to 1300 degrees Celsius. We're still trying to get the front temperature up. We've got probably another 2 or 3 hours of firing time left. So you can see right now the cone pack and how extremely hot it is inside the kiln. At this point, at that temperature, the ash in the kiln is actually melting on the surface of the pots and forming a beautiful glassy layer. So as potters, of course, that's exactly what we're looking for, and so it makes us very excited. We're going to wrap up the segment with some footage from June, of wood firing that we did in June. I'm showing the unloading of the kiln, so unbricking the door and then showing the unloading of the kiln, so you can get a sense of what this will look like. We're not going to unload this kiln until next Wednesday, so it's always tough to wait that whole time, but that's part of the excitement. So thank you very much for joining us. So you can see after the firing all of the melted ash trickling down. So here's the unbricking of the kiln, speeded up. Of course, it takes much longer, but you always get little glimpses of the pots inside. It's always heavy anticipation and excitement as you see little glimpses of the pieces. So this is the kiln cam. You can see how the kiln is being unloaded. Extra fast piece, little wads left behind.
Oh, it's all good.
Play
Yes.
the pieces was fired on.
This is you too?
The excitement on Julia's face as she's handing out the pieces. So usually we have kind of a chain of people who are coming and taking each piece. The cool thing is that each participant in the firing will handle all of the pieces in the firing. So there's always a lot of excitement, people exclaiming at each other's pots, and really being inspired, of course, by the results that everybody has gotten. Exciting, of course, is grinding the shells. There's glass residue on the shelf from the melted ash and alkaline vapor. So you can see we use these heavy abrasive scourers to scour off the shelves. Again, it's all part of the teamwork. Everybody lending a hand to do the labor to maintain the equipment and the shelves. It is very dusty, so people are wearing masks, and it takes a lot of elbow grease. Literally like shards of glass flying off as they're grinding the shelves. Once the shelves have been ground off, the next step is washing them with kiln wash to prepare them for the next firing. You can see the back of the kiln being unloaded here. If only it goes that fast. This is a great view because it shows you the stack of pots after they've been fired. See people scrutinizing the pieces, and it really is a thing of beauty when you see all of the pots all laid out together. We've got some great detail shots here of some of the effects of the ash trickling down on the inside of the pieces. The surfaces are incredibly varied, and the thing to remember is the outside of the pots are completely decorated by the flame itself. So the ash deposition as well as those alkaline vapors. You'll notice this is the front part of the kiln. The colors are more muted because they have way more ash deposited on them. The back side of those pieces is usually a very flashy kind of orange color, whereas the front side is gray and kind of ashen looking. As you can see, there's a lot of cleanup that has to happen too. You can see the inside of the kiln being chiseled as literally there are pieces of glass fused to the surface. You see all the ash that's coming down the steps that go into the front of the kiln. So it really shows the amount of labor that goes into the whole process, and it really is a labor of love. It's a very rewarding process to be involved in, and I'd like to at this point thank the Shadbolt Center for everything they do for the local ceramics community. It means a lot to everyone. It's always impressive to see the array of colors that come out of it. A lot of kind of earth tones and fiery orange and red colors, but also some very vivid blues and purples, iron reds. At the end of a firing, people are always busily packing up their pieces, but also going admiring each other's pieces and often trading individual pieces as well with each other. It really is a great community experience where the participants have a lot of respect for each other and, you know, are frankly quite inspired by the work that each other are doing. So it's a type of experience that can't really happen by yourself.